welcome.
Russ, thank you. Everybody, thank you. Just to back up your statement, Brian Saxon is a very close friend of mine, and he's a wonderful man. He's a wonderful man. So if you guys are thinking about going to the outing, Brian's a great guy. This is something that Emmy and Tom Madigan asked me to do a couple years ago. So bear with me. I'll try to make it short and sweet, 10 or 15 minutes, but it's hard to do this, so just bear with me. We'll go back to 9/11, 22 years down on Wall Street. I'm in that morning, take the boat across the river, go to the World Trade Center that I did every single morning. And next thing you know, I'm gonna move this forward. There's this big boom, and somebody that works for me came in and said to me, a prop plane hit the World Trade Center. So I'm like, a prop plane?
Now, Brian, where were you located at this point?
I was right next to, if you guys are familiar with that area, there's a Burger King across the street when you come out of the World Trade Center, and there's a park right there with the statue of the man with the newspaper. I'm the next building next to it. So I'm right there. So two women came in, it was still flurrying in. I was the first person in the morning, so I dealt with the risk of 110 traders on the floor. So I had to make sure that I maintained that our firm was in risk guidelines and nobody's taking crap shoots and trying to hit a home run. So what it comes down to is I always took the 512 train out of Waldwick in the morning and was in Wall Street by 6:40. So there I am, and two women came in and they were crying. And I said, what's the matter? And they're like, it's really bad out there. So I went running outside. And this is in a 10-minute span. You couldn't see it because it's the north side. That plane came down from the GW Bridge and hit that side, so I couldn't see it. So I'm thinking a prop plane, it's not a prop plane. I go back inside, and the next thing you know, you hear this like a whistle noise, and you hear this like, woo, and boom, and the next thing you knew is a second plane hits. And I was down there for 22 years, so 1993 when the first attack happened, I was there for that. It comes down to the point where sunny day, beautiful day, warm. Now everything is getting cloudy because the whole World Trade Center is now falling out of the sky to the ground. And I've got now, my boss is not in. Goldman Sachs did not have the disaster recovery plan in place at that time. So it's me calling the shots. So I'm calling down to the stock exchange floor to find out is the stock exchange closing or not. Nobody's making any decisions yet. I go outside, all the stuff is falling on my head by the Burger King. I go running back inside. Now the phones are ringing, the TVs are on. It's gotten to the point where it's chaos. It was chaos. And all of a sudden it clicked in my head. I said, all right, you know what I'm gonna do? Whoever has children, get out of here now. Do not go in the subway, because I don't know where, I thought planes 3, 4, and 5 were coming. I just knew we were getting bombarded. And that people that worked for me said, what's going on? I said, it's simple, we're under a terrorist attack. I said, they're coming out to hammer us now this time, bigger and better, and I said, they're gonna hammer us. And so, anybody with kids, I said, get out. If you live in Brooklyn, walk over the Brooklyn Bridge. You're not going to the subway, anywhere. You gotta stay above ground where you can run somewhere. Find a cubby hole or whatever. I said, just get out and go. The phones are ringing off the hook. My brother from Atlanta calls, what are you doing? Why are you staying there? Blah, blah, blah. I'm calling to Tenafly to my wife to say, listen, I'm okay right now. I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. What I did was, I went to a skeleton staff. Our CEO in Chicago is calling me to find out what's going on. I said, Tim, I don't know. They're not making any decisions yet. So, long story short, it gets to the point my brother-in-law comes from the World Trade Center to my office. He's crying because he doesn't think he's going to see his daughter again. I'm like, Matt, you got to calm down. We're going to figure this out. It got to the point where I said, anybody that's married, get out of here. And what I did was, my game plan was, and I'm getting old, but I said I'm going to keep the younger staff that I have that can run, that in case it's, so I kept the 25 to 30-year-old guys and girls with me. I kept 7 upstairs in the office, I kept 5 on the floor. long story short, it got to the point where it got just so crazy that I said, well, I'm getting out of here. I called the CEO in Chicago, said, listen, I'll stay in New York City. I can't get out to New Jersey because that's all blocked off. There's no way to the path, there's no way to the boat. I'm gonna head towards the Port Authority with my brother-in-law, and I had a Chinese guy from the floor with me, Robert. Next thing you know, we're walking right next to the World Trade Center, and my brother-in-law goes, look. And I looked straight up, and the World Trade Center's right in front of me, and you saw the people above where the plane hit. And you look straight up like this, and there goes number one. And I'm like, oh. And they hit like a paint can. I mean, they shot a half mile apart. There goes number two. I saw 6 of these. And it was the most gruesome thing I've ever experienced in my life. And bear with me right now, because I'm getting kind of, but I got out of there, and next thing you know, we're up by City Hall, and all of a sudden, if you took a sheet of aluminum or a cat fight and put it as loud as it could go, all of a sudden you heard this, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I turned around, and there goes the first tower right in front of me, started to go, and I figured it was either going in the Hudson River, heading to Staten Island, heading to Brooklyn, or hitting me. So I said, Matt, run, and Robert, run. So we were running. Next thing you know, the ground shook like a Godzilla movie, and all of a sudden, and I don't want to, I'm going to use you as an example, but it was, we're running, and out of nowhere, at like 60 miles an hour for a good 2 minutes, you got pushed with all the World Trade Center, just the whole thing, all that clouds, and when you saw people afterwards, I had a jacket, so I covered my head. The guy, the Chinese guy I was with, Robert, didn't. It lasted for about a good 2 minutes, and we were literally pancaked with anything and everything. And then it was all over us, and next thing you know, it stopped. And we're in a cloud. And I said, Matt, where are you? He goes, over here. I said, nobody move. Robert, where are you? He said, over here. I said, stay there. Stay there until the dust settles so I can find out where we are and what we're doing and how to get out of this mess. And I looked at Robert. Robert said he couldn't see, so we went to a bar over by City Hall. I said to the guy inside, which is the water? He said, one. I shot Robert in the face to clean his eyeballs out. And next thing you know, we're walking again, and now you got FDNY, Suburbans, and driving towards hospitals with firefighters, and the guy was wearing the helmet. There's no windshield, no side windows, no cherry on top, and the guy's driving the truck, and what I had to witness is a guy in the back seat with his whole forehead broken open and blood just pouring down his forehead, and the guy next to him, his whole chest was just blood, and I'm like, oh God. But we got up between City Hall and a little bit north of there, and the next thing you know, you heard it again, and it was the second tower coming down. And we ended up, I'm going to push forward here because I'm doing this for you and for you. This is exhausting and mentally draining for me. We end up getting up to 68th Street and Park Ave, my brother-in-law and myself walking the whole time, and this is hours later. It was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. My cell phone beeped where I finally had service back, and they pulled my nephew and niece out of Atlanta school, and they said to my brother and my sister-in-law, my nickname was always Brizo, and is Uncle Brizo going to make it? And my brother said, I don't know, because he saw it on TV when I spoke to him before I left, within a 5-minute span or 10-minute span, when I left the office, the first tower came down. So he said to my sister-in-law, he's out there. And so my nephew was very tight with me. He said to me, is Brizo alive? My brother said to him, and I'll never forget, he said, you get some, not good out of it, but he said, there's one person that can find a cubbyhole in New York City and live through this, it's your uncle. And I got through it. We were on 68th. I ended up calling, I'll never forget this. It was close to 1 in the afternoon. I called my whole family, then I called my brother also, and he's a very energetic person like I am, but he said to my sister-in-law, I don't know how I'm going to eulogize Brian, because once the Trade Center came down and I was out there, he didn't hear from me for 3 hours, so he pretty much wrote me off. And Like it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I called him up, and all of a sudden I get this, I'll never forget it, the day I died. These are the things you remember. And I was gonna bring 2 things with me today, and I didn't, I should have. I called him down in Atlanta, and I've never heard him speak so softly. All of a sudden he hears this, hello. I go, Billy. And he goes, oh my God, where are you? I said, 68th and Park. And he goes, how the hell? I said, Billy, you don't want to know, but we're going to move forward here because this is not the end of this story. And that's why I told Emmy and Tom I would do this again, is you get through that day, I ended up knowing 9 friends of mine got killed. I saw 6 fall out of the towers, and it gets to the point of the stock exchange is closed, and we get to Saturday of the following, that happened Tuesday, we get to Saturday. Saturday comes, my phone rings at the house, and it's my boss who was not in that day who said, listen, can you try to make it into New York City and try to see if our building's still standing? Because at that point, it was not ground zero, it was called the red zone. And the red zone was all those buildings that were in like a 2 or 3 mile radius of the World Trade Center. They were not safe. The police said they could collapse at any given point. So the CEO of my company in Chicago called my boss. My boss calls me and says, we need somebody to see if our building is still standing. I said, well, call Robert. And there's a Chinese guy who works with me who lives in Chinatown, who could just walk there. Nobody wanted to go near it. So next thing you know, there I was at the Wyckoff hardware store getting one of those little white masks. I got down to 23rd Street Saturday morning, blocked off. I walked down to the seaport, made a right to head towards the exchange, and National Guard, I had every ID with me. National Guard was a piece of cake to get through. They just look at my ID and go. 2 blocks later, you hit the New York City cops, and they were nasty. I mean, they were nasty. And so I had everything, and you gotta bear with me, and I don't want to be, I'm gonna use the words, but I don't want to be offensive here, is I get to the cops, and I said, I want to see if 111 Broadway is still standing, and the cop says to me, you got BALOS? I said, yes. And he goes, okay, come with me. And they had the big ones, the big masks that were like, you know, like the big, like the army masks. So he said, just don't look down. Well, that was a sucker's thing to me. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to look down. And so we're walking in probably this high. As we went close to the World Trade Center, we started off at that high, and we ended up walking in this high of anything and everything. And me, being the idiot that I am, I looked down, and at one point I saw a half of a woman's finger with nail polish on it. And I'm like, oh God, what am I walking in? But 111 Broadway is still standing. Left, got home, and this is the hardest part for me right now. There's a guy, Dave Brady, who I took the boat across, who went to Ramapo High School. I went to St. Joe's. Great guy from Wyckoff. And we took the boat across every morning. And every morning, including 9/11, we were with each other on the boat coming across the river. We took the 610 boat. And I said to him, I'll see you tomorrow. And he said, yeah. So Sunday morning comes, I go to St. E's to church, and there's a podium of all the parishioners that didn't make it. There was no tomorrow for Dave. He didn't make it, and I didn't know it. And this is the guy I took the boat across with every day. And went to church that day, got back home, the phone rings again, and it's my boss saying to me, listen, they're going to move the stock exchange down to Philadelphia, so we got to rally the troops. So I've got 23 people that report to me, back office in Florida. So I start rounding them up, in saying get in carpools, pair up. If you don't, if you can't get a car, if you're in Staten Island, if you're in Brooklyn, a whole bunch of clerks, I said just pair up, pack your bags, go. I kept one kid back, a 27-year-old kid, Greg Clark, because my boss said to me, we need you to stay back. I said, for what? He goes, I can call you back. So I said, let me make the phone calls and get these guys moving. 20 minutes later, the phone rings, and I get on the phone with him. I said, Tim, let me tell you something. You can't just move these guys down to Philadelphia. I said, what happens with the stock exchange, in trading is, and you've seen it on TV or movies, trades happen all day long, and it can be volatile as anything. But what happens is some trades do not compare. So let's say Tom Madigan and myself say, I'm buying 500 shares, blah, blah, blah. So I say buy 5, and he says buy 5. That doesn't work. There's no seller there. So in the morning, the next morning, you always have got to resolve the uncompared trades. And every firm's got their clerks, and they talk to their traders, and one's got to back up, one's going to say, well, yeah, I am the seller, the price is not 30 and a half, it was 30 and 3/4, whatever. So all that stuff and paper was left on the exchange floor, and everybody cut out that day. So I said to him, you can't just go down to Philadelphia. Our firm, any trade that's a loser, the trader's going to walk away from, we're going to eat. So I said, you got to get that crap somehow down to Philadelphia. So hang up the phone, an hour later it goes by. He calls me up and says, listen, we talked to Tim Mullen out in Chicago. What's the probability of you going back into the city and trying to get into the building and trying to retrieve what's called the break sheets, and what's called the P&S reports, and what's called, I said, at the exchange, when I first started there in '83, it was all paper, so it was easy. But now it's gone handheld computers. And I said, what about all the handhelds that are left on the floor by the traders? We got to get them down to Philadelphia. He says to me, that's why we're calling. What percentage do you think you can get into the city and get that stuff and get it down to Philadelphia today? I'm pardon my phrase. I said, you're out of your effing mind. I said, you tell Tim Mullen to go F himself in Chicago, because you know what? What I saw yesterday, Saturday, and you think I'm going to go back in there again? You guys, he goes, just give me a percentage, Brian, please, and I'll call Mullen back. So I said, okay, what, 0 to 100%? And he goes, yeah. I go, 3. He goes, 3? I go, Tim, it's to get through the National Guard, to get through the cops, and then to try to go into the building that we don't even know is safe? Are you kidding me? So, here, we're going to pass on. I called Greg Clark up. I said, Greg, listen, get down to 23rd Street, park your car, meet me at 11 o'clock, 12 noon at the seaport, and bring duffel bags. I go, how many duffel bags did you get? He goes, you got 3. I had 4. So there I was with me and my wife, him and his girlfriend, and we got to the cops again. I told the cops what we were trying to do. They said, are you out of your mind? There's no electricity, the buildings are not safe, they could collapse on your head. I said, listen, you know what? I got to get this done. So we ended up at noon getting inside the building, our building. We broke through I'm not going to tell you we broke through, we broke through the building to get into the building. I had a flashlight. It's pitch black. You don't know if the roof's going to collapse on your head. We get in the office. I'm getting the break sheets off people's desks. I'm getting the little P&S reports and stuffing them in duffel bags. Greg loses it on me. He's a 27-year-old kid, out of nowhere. He's screaming, we're gonna die, we're gonna die. So I grab him by the head, just like this, and go, listen, I wouldn't be in here if I didn't think it was safe, Greg. I was lying through my teeth. I said, no, but I said, listen, we're gonna be fine. And he was shaking and grabbing stuff out of his desk and throwing it out. I go, stop, you gotta stop. Then he broke down crying. I'm like, hey. So I kissed him on the forehead and I said, stop. If it wasn't safe, and like I said, I'm lying through my teeth, I said I wouldn't be in here. So I said, listen, we gotta move forward here. And he goes, where are we going? I said, we gotta go to the exchange to get the handhelds. He goes, I can't deal with this. And I said, you will deal with this. So I said, we're gonna go through the basement so more cops, we don't have to see any more New York City cops. So we went through the basement. I come out of the basement, and right in front of me, next to the American Stock Exchange, is the NYU grad school. And it's a morgue. The thing was, if you guys all know the show MASH. It was 8 tables across, body bags across the floor. I'm like, Greg, just don't look. And I'm like going, ugh. And the Burger King in the corner, which you guys are probably familiar with, that was a triage center. And so we got an exchange. Now my cell phone's going off. And it was just my boss saying, where are you? We haven't heard from you yet. I go, Tim, are you kidding me? If I saw you right now, I'd punch you right in the face. I said, this is a disaster. And I'm walking in all this stuff, and it was unbelievable. He goes, well, why is it taking you guys so long? I said, Tim, there's nothing. It is a disaster. It is a disaster. So long story short, we get the handhelds. We're walking through the escalator in exchange, nothing works, it's pitch black in there, I have one flashlight. We got 7 duffel bags full of handhelds, brake sheets, and everything. And now we're like, how are we getting out of here? It's this is 5 hours later, and we got the stuff, and we're ready to leave the exchange, and he goes, I can't carry this, and I said, neither can I. So I had a duffel bag here, he had the 2 duffel bags on his shoulders. He really stepped up to the plate, and I said to him, I kissed him on the forehead again, and I go, listen, you're a trooper. He goes, you know this building's not gonna fall down? I said, nah, they're not gonna fall down at all. I said, I'm lying again. I'm like, if they fell down, we're gone. And so we stole a dolly out of the American Stock Exchange floor, and now we're pushing the other 3 bags through with all the stuff that's on the ground, I'm not even gonna mention, and get back to the cops, and it's 7 o'clock at night. And we get to the cops, and the one thing I did know, and I knew it all along, and I said to my wife, and I said to everybody, the culprit behind this whole thing is Bin Laden. And I said it from when the trade centers came down. I said, because once the 93 one happened, I did a lot of research on terrorists and Muslims, and that guy had it in for us. And we get to the cops, and he said, the sergeant says to us, there's 12 of them. And he goes, what are you doing? I said, I told you I was going to get the handhelds and the stuff off the exchange and the office. We got to get this down to Philly so our IT guys can try to make the Amex handhelds work on the Philadelphia Stock Exchange by tomorrow morning. And he goes, you're getting arrested. I said, I'm getting arrested. And he said, yes. I said, for what? He said, for looting. So I said, all right. So now we're at this thing, 7 o'clock at night, and my wife and Greg's girlfriend are 10 feet away from me, and they're like, you're getting arrested. I go, you know what? Fine, arrest me. And the cop looks at me and goes, why do you do that? I said, because it's a game. You arrest me, and the rat in the cave in Pakistan wins the battle. B, you allow me to get this stuff down to Philadelphia, so the stock exchange is up and running tomorrow morning, and the rat in the cave in Pakistan says, how the hell did they do this? Because we bombarded them. And so I turned around and said, your call. He goes, get out of here. I go, no, now we're on the clock. I go, now we're on the clock. And then my boss calls again. I said, Tim, I got to call you back, because now I'm getting handcuffed. I'll call you back. So I hang up the phone. I said, I need one cop, that cop car, to take me, him, my wife, his girlfriend, up to 23rd Street to my truck, so to get us in the truck, and we can race it down to Philadelphia, so the IT guys can work all night long to try to make these things work, and the brake sheets, or the lens to the brakes all night long. They didn't sleep, these guys, they all worked for me. I ended up saying to him, that's all I need. I made one mistake. I said, I'll give the driver 20 bucks. The sergeant said to me, you never bribe a cop. I said, all right, can you do this for me though? He goes, yes, Tom, take them. So my wife says to me, I want the front seat. These are little funny things. I go, what the hell do you want the front seat for? She goes, I've never been in a cop car. I go, good, take the front seat. So there I was in the back seat with Greg, his girlfriend, and myself, and my cell phone goes off. And it's my boss again. He goes, where are you? I go, I am in a New York City cop car. Can I call you back? I said, this is crazy. We went up to 23rd Street. We took all the duffel bags, shoved them in the back of my truck. I picked up the phone. I called down to my boss. I said, listen, tell Mike Scotty and George Galero, get in the car in Philadelphia, drive up to exit 8 on the turnpike. I'm leaving now. I'll drive down to exit 8. We'll switch all the stuff out of my truck into their truck and race it down to Philadelphia. And hopefully the IT guys, and we can balance everything and see what happens. So we did that. I see Mike and George, and as soon as they see me, they start crying, and we're hugging each other in the parking lot, and everybody's crying. And they take the stuff out of my truck, they go down to Philadelphia. The next day I'm in the house, and I got the TV on, and I got Squawk Box on, and I called down to Philadelphia. I said, Tim, where do we stand? He goes, I don't know. We're going to find out when the bell goes off, if this works or not. So I am now like, and I coach a lot of sports, and you know me at the Y. I coach many sports, and it's not win or lose, but how you play the game. I don't care if you lose, but you put your effort into something, because effort brings results. So there I am in the kitchen, like this, with Squawk Box on, and it's 9:28. I'm looking at the thing like, oh God, this has got to work. And the bell goes off. It takes about 40 seconds to 40 or 50 seconds before a trade will go through. And so I called down to the floor. My boss was on the Philadelphia floor, and he says, they worked all night long. We don't know if it's going to work, but also the bell goes off. They're about 40, 50 seconds in, and the trades are going through. So I'm like, yes. And so that's the one part of the story. There's sometimes going to bring with me today, but I didn't bring with me is at St. E's, Monsignor Harahan asked me on the 10-year anniversary if I could get a piece of steel from the World Trade Center. I ended up going through a Port Authority cop, that's a good friend of mine. I got St. E's the piece of steel, but I also had handed to me, which I didn't want to keep, and I gave it to Monsignor Harahan, a sculpture of the guy that took a piece of steel from the World Trade Center and melted it, and he made it into a platform. If you ever go to one of the St. E's by the front of the school where the trophies are, it's a melted sculpture of two towers. One's got number 9 on it, one's got number 11 on it. I gave that to Harahan. I didn't want it. But the other thing that I did get, and I was going to bring it with me today, but I didn't, is my brother, who knew a cartoonist from the Atlanta Constitution, which is equivalent to the New York Times up here. He sent me, after that happened, it was a cartoon thing that he did in the paper, and I have it. And if anyone wants to see it, I'll be more than happy to show it to you. It's a big picture. And I always kept it in my closet. I never took it out, but on the 10th anniversary, I took it out, and now I hang it. It is a picture of, it was a cartoon picture. It's the Statue of Liberty, and her 2 eyes are here, and one plane's hitting the building, and the other plane's hitting the building in her eye, and a tear's coming out. And it says, as I said, they call me Brizo. It's to Brizo and Susan, our heroes, 9/11/2001. But it's something that, you know, I'll end it this way. After that happened, and in the next couple of years, I said to my wife, and I said to a lot of people, what this country needs is MEV. And I made it up myself. And my wife said to me, what the hell is MEV? So I said, MEV is my own thing. I said, you look at TV, you look at these textings, you look at all this stuff that goes on the way we live right now. MEV is what this country needs: morals, ethics, and values back. We lack it big time. I take my hat off to Ron over here last week, who stopped with his prayer with all these gun shootings and stuff. It's this is just, I lived through 9/11, and I look at the way we live now, and it's getting to the point where, you know what, it's got to stop. I mean, it has to stop. We live in a society that right now, I'll end it just this way. I just hope to God. I mean, I got 3 kids, and you know, Russ, I don't know how many you have, but I know that you guys don't want to go to Middle Park today. But it's getting to the point where we need to focus. We need to stop the chaos. You know, as I said to a buddy of mine yesterday, you know, I'm going to be here at the Brick House doing this. Brian, how do you tell that story? I said, it rips my stomach out. For me, but I did it because I got some dear friends here. But like when I leave here today, I'm done for the day. But when 9/11 comes, and this is the end of the story, is I run, and everybody sees me running in this town. I do triathlons, but I run a lot. 9/11, you can't talk to me that day. That day I run, and the funny part about it is my daughter, who's the oldest, who I mean, it was very, very well, Courtney, who's in the 8th grade, at the 10-year anniversary at St. E's, when they're going to do the memorial for the piece of steel I got, I said, I'm not going to 10:30 Mass. I'm not going. I can't go through this. And she looked at me at 9:30 in the morning. I'll never forget this. And from me to her, she said, you're not going to Mass with me, Mommy, and Megan and Patrick? Oh, no. I said, when I was at 7:30 Mass in the morning, I can't do this. And so she looked at me, and then for about a half an hour, I said to myself, you know what? She's looking at me and saying, my dad's a loser, that he can't suck it up and go to this mass. Well, at 10 after 10, I went upstairs, I put this shirt on with khaki shorts and said, hey Courtney, I'm going to mass. I walked in, Monsignor Harahan was back in church, and I told him I wasn't going to go. I said, just go. And he goes, I understand. I walked in, and he said, you know what? You're one of the strongest people I've ever met. I said, Father, don't mention my name in this church today. Don't mention anything about me, about this. Let me get through this mass. But during that mass, at least a dozen times, I was close to losing it, but in the corner of my eye, my daughter kept looking at me, and I just said, suck it up, and you know what, you gotta be strong in front of her. Got through the mass, got through the memorial, and that's the story.